Have you ever walked into a room and felt completely invisible? Not because you wanted to blend in, but because no one even noticed you were there. We're going to break down 5 powerful reasons people may avoid you and how to reclaim your confidence, connection, and peace. Reason 1, they assume you're stuck in your ways. Has anyone ever looked at you a certain way, like they've already decided who you are? You start to speak and you can feel it, this quiet assumption hanging in the air. We know what you're going to say. We've heard it all before. And just like that, they stop asking for your opinion. Not because it doesn't matter, but because they believe they already know it. It's frustrating, isn't it? To feel boxed in by your own years that taught you, shaped you, stretched you. People see the silver in your hair and think it means you've hardened, that you're stuck. But here's the truth no one talks about: aging doesn't mean you're rigid. Sometimes it's the opposite. Because when you've walked through grief, learned from your regrets, tried and failed and tried again, you realize how fluid life really is. Let me ask you this: how many times have you surprised even yourself lately? Maybe not in some grand way, but quietly. Internally. Did you change your mind about something you once swore by? Did you open your heart again after years of shutting it down? Did you try something new, not because you had to, but because curiosity whispered, why not? I remember being 63, sitting in front of a laptop and clicking enroll on an online coding class. Now listen, I could barely send an email without squinting at the screen. But I wanted to learn something modern. Something out of my world. My grandchildren didn't believe me at first. They laughed, thought I was joking. 2 weeks in, I showed them a small website I built. Their jaws dropped. Not because the site was impressive, it wasn't, but because I did it. And suddenly, their eyes shifted. They didn't see grandma who always talks about the past. They saw someone still growing. Someone still curious. That one small choice redefined how they related to me. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about saying, I'm still here. I'm still becoming. You don't have to move mountains. Just shake the dust off. Change something. Learn something. Show up differently. You might be surprised how people respond when they see you're not frozen in time, you're still unfolding. So let me ask you, what's one area in your life where you've changed your perspective in the last 5 years? Could be something small. The way you handle anger. The way you think about love. The way you look at yourself in the mirror. Whatever it is, I want to hear about it. Because when you share, you give someone else the courage to do the same. If you've done something unexpected after 60, tell me about it in the comments. You never know who you might inspire just by being exactly who you are. And if no one's told you this lately, you are not stuck. You are evolving. And that's beautiful. Reason 2, they don't know how to connect with you anymore. Have you felt it too? That quiet space between you and someone you used to be so close with? Friends you once spoke to every day now feel like strangers. Your kids get busy and those long talks you used to have become shorter. Maybe it's a quick text. Maybe it's nothing at all. And when you do talk, it's like there's a wall between you, not cold, just unfamiliar. The conversation doesn't flow. There's a pause where there used to be laughter. And you wonder what happened. This is one of the hardest shifts that comes with getting older. Not because anyone means harm, but because life changes. People grow into new roles, new routines, and often they don't know how to include us in that shift. Or worse, they assume we wouldn't understand their world anymore, so they don't even try. But here's the thing, connection doesn't just happen. It has to be cultivated like a garden that needs tending. And yes, it's easy to feel hurt when people drift. It's natural to want them to reach out first. But what if we stopped waiting? What if we became the ones who reach? I've learned that sometimes the bridge between generations is built not with big declarations, but with small, curious moments. An invite to coffee, a text that says, thinking of you, even a question like, can you show me how that app works? I remember this one afternoon. My niece was visiting, and she kept chuckling at her phone. Now, I'd heard of TikTok, but I figured it was all dancing and nonsense. Still, I asked her, what's so funny? She lit up. Want to see? 2 hours later, we were sitting on the floor, tears in our eyes from laughing so hard at some dog video with a voiceover. Then she said something that stayed with me. She looked at me and she said, "I didn't think you'd be into this kind of thing. This is cool." And just like that, I wasn't just Auntie sitting on the couch. I was someone who shared her world, even for a moment. You see, connection doesn't always require deep conversation or years of history. Sometimes, it's just a willingness to step into someone else's joy, even if you don't fully understand it. It's about being curious about the people around you, even if their world looks completely different than the one you came from. Try this. Next time you see someone scrolling, instead of rolling your eyes or feeling left out, ask them, "What are you watching?" Or, "Can you show me how this works?" You might not love it, but you'll show them you're open, and that alone creates space. Connection takes effort, yes, but it also takes humility. The kind that says, "I'm still learning." The kind that chooses closeness over pride. So here's a gentle question for you. When's the last time you asked someone younger to teach you something? Could be how to make a playlist, how to stream a show, how to understand a meme. It doesn't have to be big, but it can be the beginning of something meaningful. You're not too far removed. You're not too old to belong. You're just one brave moment away from reconnecting. Reason 3, they fear aging and you remind them of it. Ever feel like people talk to you differently now? They smile, they're polite, but they keep it light. No deep questions, no real conversations, just surface level. You bring up something meaningful like how you've been reflecting on life or something profound you read and suddenly they're checking their phone, changing the subject, shifting away. Not out of rudeness, but discomfort. The truth is you remind them of something they don't want to face. You represent a version of themselves they're scared of. You're the mirror they didn't ask to look into. It's not you. It's what they think you symbolize. And that is aging. They fear it. They fear slowing down, getting wrinkles, losing relevance, losing time. They're not avoiding you. They're avoiding the reality you reflect back to them. But here's where you have a secret power. You can flip the script. What if, instead of shrinking from that fear, you walked into it with boldness and grace? What if, instead of hiding the parts of you that show your age, you highlighted them, made them beautiful? I used to cover my gray hair religiously. Every 4 weeks, like clockwork, I dye it, tone it, blend it. Because I thought if I let it show, people would stop seeing me. Or worse, they'd only see age. But one day, I looked in the mirror and thought, why am I hiding the very thing I've earned? So I let it grow out. Silver, soft, unapologetic. And something surprising happened. People didn't look away. They leaned in. Women stopped me in grocery stores to say, "You look powerful." Young girls smiled and said, "I hope I look like you one day." And for the first time, my reflection didn't feel like something to fix, it felt like something to celebrate. We have to show the world that aging isn't a decline, it's a rise. It's a becoming. It's freedom from noise, from pretending, from trying to be anything but exactly who we are. When people only associate aging with loss, show them gain. Talk about what's gotten better, your clarity, your peace, your ability to laugh at things that used to keep you up at night. Speak joyfully about your season of life. Let your light be the proof that age doesn't dim, it deepens. You don't have to preach. Just live out loud. Wear what you want. Say what you mean. Dance even if your knees creak a little. Because every time you embody joy in this chapter, you help someone younger see aging as a gift, not a fear. So I want to ask you something now. What's one beautiful thing about aging that you wish people could see? Something they'd never guess until they lived it? Maybe it's the way silence feels more comforting than noise. Maybe it's knowing who you are finally without apology. Maybe it's the power of not caring so much about what others think. Whatever it is, share it. In the comments or with someone close to you. Let's rewrite the story people tell themselves about growing older. Let's make it one of power, not pity. Peace, not fear. Depth, not decline. Reason 4, they think you're out of touch with today's world. You ever start a sentence with "back in my day" and notice the eye rolls before you even get to the good part? It's like the moment you start to share your experience, people, especially the younger ones, tune out. Not because your story isn't valuable, but because they assume you're stuck there. Like your mind lives in a world that no longer exists. And it stings, doesn't it? You want to share what you know, not to lecture, but to connect. But they act like anything before Instagram is ancient history. Here's what I've learned. They don't need you to abandon your past. They just want to feel like you also live in the present. Like you're not clinging to the good old days at the expense of today's world. And let's be honest, sometimes we do romanticize the past. Because it's where we felt strong, certain, useful. But what if we didn't have to choose? What if we could bring our wisdom into the now without needing to prove it was better back then? Start with shared values. Instead of saying we didn't have phones glued to our faces, try "it's funny how connection has changed." I remember when a handwritten letter made my whole week. Then ask, what's something small that makes you feel close to someone? That simple shift? It opens the door. Suddenly, you're not preaching, you're relating. I remember when I first heard about podcasts. Honestly, I thought it was just talk radio with a fancier name. But I gave it a try, started with one on history, then another on mindfulness. And wouldn't you know it, my grandson, the tech-savvy teenager who rarely looked up from his screen, overheard me playing one and said, "You listen to podcasts?" I said, "Sure. Got any recommendations?" That little moment changed something. He saw me differently, not as someone out of step, but as someone curious. Now, he sends me links to episodes. And when we talk about ideas, not just weather or school or what's on the news. He started asking for my opinion. And I didn't have to become someone else to earn that. I just had to stay open. That's really the trick, isn't it? Not pretending to be 25. Not forcing yourself to use every new slang term or follow every viral trend. Just staying engaged, paying attention, asking questions instead of making assumptions. Next time you're around someone younger, try this. Ask them what they're reading, watching, or learning. Don't judge, just listen. Then offer something of your own. Maybe a lesson from your life that connects to what they're dealing with. Not to teach, but to relate. That bridge between generations? It's not built on knowing the same references. It's built on feeling understood. So here's something for you to think about. What's one modern trend, tool, or idea you've explored recently that surprised you? Maybe you tried meditation, or watched a documentary on climate change. Maybe you even tried using voice-to-text on your phone. It doesn't have to be huge, but it does show that you're still learning, still living, still in it. And that right there, that's how you stay relevant. Not by pretending to be young, but by showing you never stopped growing. Reason 5. They think you've given up. There's this moment, maybe it happened to you, where someone close to you, maybe a friend, maybe even family, looked at you with kind eyes and said something like, "Well, you've had a good run." And they meant it sweetly, but it stung. Because deep down, you knew exactly what that meant. They think you've stopped dreaming. That your days of trying, of exploring, of risking are behind you. They think you've stepped off the playing field. It's subtle, but it shows. They stop inviting you to things that push boundaries. They don't ask about your plans for next year because they assume you don't have any. They think you're coasting. But here's the thing they miss completely. You're not done. You might just be getting started. Society has this strange idea that life has a peak. A golden age window where dreams are chased, passions are valid, change is expected. And once you pass that invisible mark, you're supposed to settle. Downsize, retire, fade gently into a routine. But what if that doesn't feel right for you? What if your fire's still burning, quieter maybe, but steady? What if the second half of life is when things finally make sense, when you've got the clarity, the time, and the courage to go after what you really want? I'll tell you a story. I was 67 the first time I traveled solo. And let me tell you, I was terrified. Not of being alone. I'd been through divorce, through grief, through long nights of solitude. I knew alone, but this was intentionally alone. Different country, different language, no tour group, no schedule. Just me and a backpack and a boarding pass. The first trip, I nearly backed out. My hands shook at the airport. I clung to my passport like it was life itself. But something inside whispered, "Go!" And I did. That first night, walking through narrow streets with unfamiliar smells and laughter I didn't understand, I felt reborn. Not because I discovered some new land, but because I rediscovered myself. By the second trip, I was already planning the third. Not just places to go, but things to do, food to try, languages to attempt, people to meet. I stopped waiting for permission to live like my story wasn't finished. And you know what? People around me noticed. My daughter said, "Mom, you're glowing." A friend called and asked, "Do you think I could do that too?" And the world that had quietly assumed I was winding down started leaning in again. That's the magic of trying something new. It sends a signal to yourself first and then to everyone around you that you're still here, still curious, still alive, still building. You don't have to climb a mountain or hop on a plane. Could be learning the piano, taking a painting class, writing the book you've always talked about, volunteering, falling in love, starting over. The what doesn't matter, the why does. Because every time you pursue something that lights you up, it reminds people, and maybe even you, that life doesn't stop at any number. There is no finish line but the one you choose. So let me ask you something. What's one thing you've always wanted to do, but haven't yet? Maybe it's big. Maybe it's quiet. Maybe it feels impossible. Good. That's the one. Name it. Say it out loud. Write it in the comments. Because that dream still counts. And it's not too late. Not by a long shot. Let's take a moment and look back. They assume you're stuck in your ways. They don't know how to connect with you anymore. They fear aging and you remind them of it. They think you're out of touch with today's world. And the hardest one, they think you've given up. But let's be clear about something. You are not avoided because of your age. You are avoided because people misunderstand your power. They can't see the full story in your eyes, the chapters they never took the time to read. But you know the battles you've fought, the love you've given, the risks you've taken. You know how hard you've worked just to stand here today, breathing, growing, still reaching for more. You are not done. You are still growing, still creating, still becoming. This is not the end of your book. It's a brand new chapter, and you get to write it any way you want. So let's turn this conversation into something real. Which of these reasons hit you the hardest? Tell me in the comments. Let's open it up, be honest, support each other. I read every single one. And if you believe that life after 60 is still full of purpose, passion, and possibility, then you've found your people. Subscribe. Join this community of late bloomers. Because we're just getting started.